Okay. Now you've pushed this a lot since last week. The only thing I want to point out so far... Yeah, great. Thanks, Christian. Have a bit of storyboard together in time, no problem. Okay. Yeah, so we can kick around ideas. Now, when you have text up, as a general rule of thumb, the old school thinking is you want to be able to read it twice. So if you see that starring Kate Winslet, I barely had time to say that. And then when you factor in all the motion that's going on around it, your eye's going to be drawn away from it. So you can have, so you're going from this scene out of that scene within like 2 seconds. And then, you know, you're basically moving at a clip of 2 seconds per scene. You can let these breathe a little longer. Remember, it's like a 10-second minimum. It can be longer. It could be, 15 seconds. It could be 40 seconds if it's good. You want quality. You've got some nice stuff going on here. You can add a little bit of life, like hanging on the scene a little bit and having some fog moving in the background behind her. And we could also work on doing some motion with the dress using Turbulent Displace. I'll test that theory out. Now the Paul Rudd name here is getting a little lost there. Maybe you can do something to pull it out from there. Maybe the color, like picking a color will make it pop or something like that. But you've got some great stuff going on, some good eye for details. I love how you've incorporated everything. Some shading will really help that a lot. We'll kick around that next. So first, let's talk about that dress. Okay, now since I've seen this file last week, okay, so, sorry, that was just my phone going off. All right, here is the person right here. Boom. Okay, now we can do Turbulent Displace. And you'll see that it's affecting the whole image. So what we want to do is we want to target the red, okay? That's what we want to happen. So let's try and pin that down. What we could do is, I've got a fun idea. All right, so you'll notice that the character is not moving, okay? Sorry, I'm just adjusting my pop filter. It was a little too close to the mic. My hand was hitting it because I talk moving my hands. All right, so let's try and duplicate this person. So we've got a layer that we don't have to worry about. We'll keep that effect on there. Let's try what's called key light. Key light is for removing colors. Or, you know what we could try? We could try extract. Let's try extract just for the fun of it. Let's see, where did we go? Miss Bloom, right here. Okay. Now, this one has the extract effect on it. Nope, did I put on the Kate Winslet type by accident? Yeah, so I'll remove that. Here we go, and I'll paste it here. Okay, there's our effect. So, we can extract. Let's try and slide these. Oh, and you know what? I gotta hide the one underneath, just so we can see what we're removing on the one above. Okay, so right in there, is that... Let's see if we can target the red. Okay, so if we can target the red, let's keep the red and get rid of the other stuff. See how that does. Okay, that's where that's sitting in right there. But now we're starting to see the face. Okay, so we're getting rid of that. Good. And then let's go into the blue channel. Okay, fine. See the alpha. Okay, there she is right there. We don't want the alpha. You know what? Actually, let me show you another way of doing this, because extract, it's somewhat working. All right, so we've got this layer right here, but I'm going to, with that layer selected, use my pen tool, and I'm just quickly going over the dress, like such. Okay, so that's all we're seeing on that layer, and we'll turn on the one beneath it. So now if I put Turbulent Displace on the duplicate, it will only be affecting that small part of the dress. So it'll make a little bit of life and motion. I'm going to click here to turn off the path. Okay. So we've got a little bit of that going on. Okay, fine. So what I'll do is I'll keyframe the evolution. I'm going to Alt click inside here to place an expression. I'll just do time with an asterisk. Let's say 130. I'm just picking a number randomly. And you see this thing's moving so fast that we can't even see the flapping of the dress we just created. So let's turn off that gradient wipe. Turn that off. And we'll focus just on the dress part. See how you can see the dress moving there? So what I would suggest doing is we're going to need bigger motion for it to be seen with everything going on around it. Let's crank that amount up a little bit, and the size. Let's turn up the complexity a little bit too, just for the fun of it. And it's blowing this way. So what we can do is we can offset the turbulence. So I'm going to click on the stopwatch to turn that on. And remember your crosshairs. I've already said you can click where you want them to go over time. So if I move forward ahead and I go sideways, now the wind's going that way. See? So if you hang on this scene longer, you can have things in there, like the fabric rustling in the wind. Maybe even the hair, if you separate the hair from there in Photoshop, like have the head one layer, that one layer. But I'm just showing you how you can add life to this still image. And we've already gone over how to create fake smoke with particles. But if you need a refresher on that, I could show you after I get through everybody's work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a save as like I always do, and I'll pass along this file to you when we're done kicking around ideas. But like I said, let it breathe. I mean, you've got some great stuff, adding these subtle little pieces of motion, like, you know, to the dress, some smoke going behind her. And then we were talking about lighting with 3D. So here we go. All right, now I'm gonna hit save. Save frequently because Adobe products crash way more than you'd like them to. Very unstable software. Okay, so let's try and find that Polaroid, which you executed perfectly. Nice job. Okay, there's the names, there's the person. Handprint newspaper. It has to be around here somewhere. Okay, so just a little tip. Let me show you something. Let's pretend this scene is done here and you don't need any more. If you select your layers and hit Alt and then the end bracket, which would look like this, I'll show you one more time. It's on the Mac, it would be Option, but on a PC, it's Alt. So this is the beginning of the layer. That's the end of the layer. So just look at those and say, okay, that's the in point and that's the out point. So in and out. So I just trimmed the out point of those layers. And I'm going to hide that. The reason I did that is because when you've got something this complex and you go, okay, I'm done with those newspapers. If you trim your layers, you know, like that, with that Alt trick, you can start whittling down what is and what isn't needed, like all those names could be trimmed too. So it just makes finding work easier. Okay, so that final layer was underneath one of these. Okay, so there we go, road PNG. Hello, Julia. I'll be getting to your work next. The fastest way to find it would have been the 3D layer, but, you know, it's been a long day and my brain's just not firing on all cylinders. Okay, so there's the 3D layer, and since it's a 3D layer, that means if we put a 3D light in here, by going layer, new light, all your stuff you can add is always under layer new, right there. So we'll add under light, we'll do a spotlight, and look what happens. It instantly adds depth with the light and how it's playing into it. So what you can do there is, you know what I'm going to do? So that's driving me up a wall. I'm going to drag those out. I'm going to drag these out because I already showed you what to do with them. Okay, so here we go. Why is that one part acting wonky? It's probably because of just processing power. Yeah, so if you ever want to change your light settings, you just twirl down and it's all under light options. Like you change the intensity, you know, and you could change the cone angle, how much feather there is, a fall off, inverse squared clamp might look a little bit nicer. Let's crank that up a little bit. And then I'm going to increase the feather a little bit. Okay, so let's take a look here. You got that newspaper, right? If I click 3D on the newspaper, now the light is adding some depth to that shot as well. And your effect still works. See what I mean? So also, I'm going to click on that photo. I twirl down to the material options. If I click on, it will cast a shadow. And then let's go to our light and see if we got to turn cast shadows on here. Cast shadows on. Now it's casting a shadow as it falls. Okay, so we've got double interest there. You can also diffuse we can make this lighter or darker based upon how strong you want that shadow to be. You can also diffuse it, which means soften it. Get a nice, more attractive light to it, like such. And the reason that we're losing parts of the photo is because of the Z space of the image and the newspaper. So the fast fix for that is to get the newspaper, hit P for position, X side to side, Y up and down, Z closer or further from the camera. Now if I push this back a bit, we're starting to see the whole photo again. Now it's interacting with it much more realistically, like such. So that was some fast ways of pushing 2D art into a 3D level. Thanks so much for all the help so far. My animation is loosely inspired by Winona Earp opening credits. Well, I will have to check those out sometime. Yeah, so like I said, just these little tweaks. Like, here's the beauty of coming to lab every week and doing little by little by little. You don't get overwhelmed. Manage your time. And like I said, since you already had most of this motion, then I showed you, it's like, well, if you throw a light in here and make these 3D, then you can start adding that lovely bit of depth and realism. Another thing that would work really good here is if you had a camera with depth of field. That would be pretty neat too. But, you know, so far, I mean, you've got something. Do you see how much more cinematic and interesting this is just from last week? Like, I mean, you really pushed it. I'm really happy. It's showing applied knowledge and a willingness to push your designs and go beyond that, oh, this is an intro to motion class, because I want people to be able to find work in the field when they get out of school. So that's why I go hard, and, you know, I don't sell people short, because I know everyone's got it in them if they just put forth the time and just do little by little each week, because that way I can help out. All right, so this is looking good. And again, I really like what this is doing. Adds a lot more of a noir element with the fall off of light. And also, if you've got other 3D elements and you do not want the light affecting them, you could just trim that light layer, like where it starts. You know, it's no drama. And that way, it'll only affect what you want it to. All right, so great job, Isabella. Okay, so let's take a look. Now remember, last time we had elements going off the artboard, and you've resolved that nicely. I'm going to go File. We'll try that again. File, Document Color Mode, RGB, good. Okay, now let's take a look at your layer breakdown. Good. Now with all these separate elements, you can parent things together and get them to work that way as well. Because you might want the spikes, the scales, and the whole body, minus the head, one layer. And that way you can puppet pin that and then do rotation with the head and the jaw. So I'll show you that actually while we're here. So I'm going to go and close this because it's an AI file. Yep, so I'm not going to change anything. I'll hit no. And I'll show you how to bring that into After Effects. So we'll go File, Import File, and we go here. Here's your dragon. Now here's the important thing. You've got that all broken down into layers. Import footage as composition, retain layer size. And you worked at the proper 16:9 ratio, so all this will be, you know, fit in After Effects the way you wanted it to. So you just do import as composition, retain layer size. I hit import. So if I double click on the comp, there's your file. And I'm glad I'm doing this just to remind everybody. These are your modes, and these are your switches. The little checkboxes are switches. These are modes, things for like blending modes, track match, and parenting. We want to be in switches, and since this is Illustrator line art, twirl straight down there, the collapse transform, and that way when you scale up, it's going to look good no matter what size you put it at. Okay, so you're going to want the wing separate from the body. So I'm just going to move the wing up. And I'm going to hit save. This file I'll send you, but you'll do all the parenting yourself. I'm just showing you here. So wings, claws, feet. Okay. Scales are above all that. So claws, feet, we're going to hide those. Legs, arms, we're going to hide those. Now, if those are broken up into different layers, that'll help you as well. Just that they move independently. This is all part of the head. So I'm going to hide that. And you're seeing right away how some of your scales and that go to the head. So, you know, we'll just take a look at that. Body, we're going to hide the wing. This is your rough body. So I'm just going to pre-compose all this together. And then we'll call it body. Now this part here, you'll probably need to mask, or you could just separate that in Illustrator. But you'll see once the body starts moving, that'll cause some issues, but not if we pin it down. So we'll try it without the pins, see what happens there. So if I put a pin at the tail, middle of the tail, about there, 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 and I'm going to do here too, just to help hold these down. Let me just pin them so they don't move. That should help. Alright, now let's test it out. I'm going to go forward a little bit. This one and this one, I'm holding down shift to get those two. I'm going to push these down a little bit. And look, that's staying still. So if those went down, I'm going to bring this up a bit, this one up a little bit, and maybe this up a little. See? Like such. That's working. So maybe you might be fine with all that. And then if I go forward a little bit more, let me hit the U key on my keyboard. And I can grab all of these first keyframes that are normal and I paste them where the playhead is. Now I've got that back to its normal spot. So there's my down. It's going back up. And then the next part will be shift here. The part that was down. Oops. Bring that part up, and then this can go down and that can go down. So we've got a down and an up. So it's gone down, coming back up, going down, and then it'll be the resting normal pose. So I'm going to paste that down, back to resting normal, then up, then back to resting normal. Flying dragon. Yeah, it's not too many moving parts. Once the trick to doing this and having it work is pre-composing the body like that. So then there's the wing. If I parent the wing to the body, watch what's going to happen because of the puppet pinning. So that'll be an issue later on. So the wing, you'll want position and rotation. But look here, here's a warning. There is the anchor point. Use the pan behind tool, put the anchor point where the wing meets the body, like where the shoulder would join. That way, when it rotates, it's moving from the right spot. So I'm going to hit U and watch what happens here. So these are my resting frames, my neutral rests. Let me just zoom out a little bit here. So it's resting, down, resting. Let me add a frame there. Oh, and you know what? I also add a frame here. I'll explain in a second. Added a frame there. I'm going to add a frame here for the position. And lastly, a frame there. Okay, so this is where the wing is. Now look, the body went up, so the wing is going to go up to sort of stay where it is. So we'll look at where it was before. It's roughly just before that part of the body. So that means it can go up a little bit more because it was up a little bit higher than that. But people aren't going to be noticing it with the wing rotating. I'm just keeping it with the body. There it is. That's the resting neutral. That's fine. Now it's down. So I'm going to just move it down a little bit, and I'll look at where it was in relation to those top scales. It's just about in line with that one. So that means it's got to come up a little bit to about there. Then there's the resting neutral. So now the position is matching the body motion, which is great. So now we can work on our rotates. So I could do the same thing. Have these line up. resting neutral, it should be parallel to the body. So we could say maybe on the down, the wing is rotating up. We'll see how that looks. So we'll copy this. Actually, we won't, because there's the resting neutral, then there's the down. So we'll have it go in the opposite direction. You know, I think the wing would be up here and then down for the other one. That looks about right. Like that. That looks right to me. Like such. So the puppet pinning ruined the parenting of the body, but that's okay because we match it up pretty easily. And you would do the same thing with the other parts of the body. Like, you know, maybe since this wing isn't puppet pinned, let me show you something. Let's do eyebrow, eye, head, jaw. We'll turn those on. Whatever this is. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pre-compose this just for the fun of it. But I'm not going to pre-compose it. I'm going to try something out. I'm going to hit P for position. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit P for position on the wing. And each one of these, I'm going to click the word position. I'm holding down Command or Control. And I'm going to grab my pick whip and drag up to that word position. Now let's watch and see if the head and all that moves with the body. Nope, it's not. Okay, so that did not work. Let's try it one at a time. Nope. Okay. So roughly, we'll do the same thing with the position, but you can watch what you want this to do because the head should be rotating with the body too. So the fast way of doing that would be the eye, head, top. Okay, the eye needs to be parented to the head top. The eyebrow needs to be parented to the head top. The jaw will be parented to the head top. Now let's test that out. See, the head is staying together. Okay, that's what we want. So if I match up these frames with that, should be good. And then you can rotate it as you want. Oh, you know what? Let me undo that, and I'll explain to you why. 1 second. Okay. Head top. Let's solo that. Here's why. Before you keyframe anything, always remember to set your anchor point. I want the top of the head to rotate at the bottom of the jaw like that. Okay. So trust me, it's better to just go back and fix it than go down the road and realize your anchor point's wrong and your motion won't match up because the anchor point is wrong. Okay, so what we can do is when the head is right here, we can move it up a little bit, line it up there. That goes back to resting neutral, fine. And then the down pose, move it down slightly. Like that. So that's fixing that. Now, in addition to that, we've got everything parented, hooray. Just gotta watch out for those top scales. That's probably because of, like I said, the artwork. So if you separate those, you're golden. Now let's look at the jaw. The jaw, you'll want the anchor point. I'm going to solo that by clicking right here. I'm using the pan behind tool. You want the jaw to be right there for the anchor point because that's where it would be. So now you've got this going on. And you might want to watch this type of artwork right here, maybe using a mask or something like that, but or just fixing your artwork, because this is a good way of seeing how your artwork interacts with the different layers. And how much you can push it. See, aside from that stuff right there, look at what you've got going on already. So look at your original artwork and reconsider what layers those are on. If you just separate them and maybe make them part of the head, that'll fix a lot of issues. But hopefully this is a bit of a help for you. Seeing ways of precomposing multiple layers, puppet pinning, parenting things like elements on the head to bring a little bit of life into your creature. But it's looking pretty nice. You can also consider doing some texture with it. Like, okay, here's your art. I'm going to bring it in. I just double clicked, or you go File, Import File. There's the scales. Okay, hooray. I'm going to put them above the body. I'm going to hit R to rotate them. Let's rotate them 90 degrees. Okay, that's looking good. Now, let's try and scale these down a little bit. And I just want to show you something. I'm going to put them right here. Let's do right here. If I use the body, if I duplicate it, Command D, put it above, I can use as an alpha matte. So I go to my modes. These are screens, transparency modes, blending modes. These are the blending modes. Here's the matte. So if I set it to an alpha matte, oops, remember it's a mask goes over your head. So I was on the right layer. Okay, this is going to be my mask. This is what I want to reveal. So the layer that I want to reveal, I set alpha matte. Now look at that difference between solid computer art and adding some texture. On top of that, let's try luminosity. Now you're keeping some of your line art and your color palette while adding in some of the scale element. Will the mask fix the choppy in between parts of the neck and the head, like the overlapping? You might need to add this to the jaw. That's my solution. I would add this part to the jaw and add these elements to the top of the head and the horn, and then just have this with the neck. You know, don't have all that as one layer. That's where your downfall was. So it's like if you just move these in Illustrator, the fast way of doing that. Let me hit continue. Let me show you something. I don't know if anyone's shown you this before, but it's the fast, easy way to work. The lazy person's way, which is what I am. I'm a very lazy person. I want to work faster, not harder. Okay, so I did a quick box select, and then I unselected the head. And you see right here, some of it's here, some of it's there. So there's head top, scales. If I drag this to the head top, now it's on with the head. And if I take these two and drag them to the head top, boom, looking good already. And then you could say which parts, there was something under the jaw that was not lining up. It's probably because the jaw layer, I think the fast, easy fix for that, jaw. Let's move the jaw up over the body. And that should fix that jaw issue. I think it was just your layer stack. Yeah, the jaw had to be above that part of the body, but it wouldn't hurt to put that stuff with the jaw. But you can see how texturing this is really going to make it pop, plus demonstrate you understand alpha masks and things like that. Let me try something real quick. You ready? Okay, so this is that. I'm going to copy this and hide it real quick. I'm going to put it inside here first, and let's see what happens, because now it should move with the puppet thing. See, look at that. That's the difference right there. That's everything. The scales are now bending with the dragon. Okay, so I'm going to fix that. There's my scales. I'm going to pre-compose all this, because remember, an alpha matte is one layer revealing one layer. So I'm making all this one layer. I'm going to duplicate it, Command D, put it above, like we did in the other thing. Set this to my alpha mat, which it is, but I'm going to fix that. Now we'll do alpha mat. There we go, now it's working. So it looks like we won't even need this duplicate right here, or this right here, because now it's inside the body and it distorts with the body. That's the way it should look. That's what's going to get you noticed. Texture, blending modes, perfectly parented and distorting along with the body. That's the way the pros do it. Okay? Everyone see the difference? I put the texture in the original body that has the puppet pinning. That's why it's distorting with the artwork the way it would in real life. Because the last time I saw a dragon flying overhead, this is what happened. The scales moved as the body bent. Alright, we're on a roll. This is fun. See, motion design can be fun and creative and interesting. You just got to think your way through it and troubleshoot along the way and try not to get too intimidated by it, you know, little by little by little. And then next thing you know, you've got something interesting happening. Also, don't forget, edit, purge all memory and disk cache as you're going along. Free up space on your computer and speed up your workflow. Okay, interesting. And we already know how to animate the space and the stars. Okay, that's all one thing. You should break down this astronaut. By saying that, I mean, if you've got this little layers, you can have the arms rotating and whatnot. You can have the doors open up with him popping out with some scaling. So far I noticed my object don't have moving parts. Yes. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Here's your logo, right? Let's see what we can do here. File, save as. If a client gave me this, I'd sigh and expect a lot of work ahead. But let's see what we can do. I'd right click, create shapes from vector layer. Now it's going to make shape layers for each part of this that you've got going on. And we'll see where this leads us, because you're the last person to hand something in. And this is just another way of showing how to handle stuff, because you're going to get multitudes of different files from different clients with varying levels of things handed to you completely and correctly. So this is taking a while, which means it might be a little bit more complex than we wanted to. The space in the background I can make wider. Well, you could do this. This is nice. You could do this with like a particle system too. Okay, let's see what happens here. Please don't crash on me. There should be a shape layer popping up. Yep. Okay, so I saw what you said, the astronaut motions, stuff like that. This should do it. There's just a little bit of a glitch. Let's drop down to quarter res. Yeah, so you should break this down in Illustrator, because this is going to be an absolute nightmare, and I'll show you why. Because it's like, if you change your anchor points on each one of these parts, you can quickly make it look like the astronaut's waving and has some weightlessness to him. But you can't set all those individual anchor points when they're all inside a layer. So let's close this, take a look at the artwork. Oh, that explains it. Look at all this stuff. Wow, that's a lot of shapes. Okay, so I'll save this to my desktop. You know what? No, I'll save it in that folder just so I don't lose it. Okay, that's why there was so much junk happening on my machine. Alright, makes perfect sense now. Let's hide space. We'll hide that. Yeah, you got a whole bunch of empty layers here. Okay, so here's the fast way of fixing it, because that's what we're all about. We're all about saving time. You want to work faster, not harder. And working faster means working smarter. Let's start by ungrouping this. Okay. Did you use compound masks? No, thank goodness. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'll call this torso. Okay, so this is right here. Like I said before, if I just drag that little icon up there, there's the torso, and I can hide it. This will be, so you're going to want to have a left and a right side of the body. This is flips. This is really the right side, and that's the left side. So I'll call it right shoulder. Well, I'll call it shoulder right, and then shoulder left. Okay, so there's shoulder right. Put that there. Hide it. There's shoulder left. Put that there. Hide it. Okay, now there's the forearms. So I'll do forearm right, forearm left. Okay, so right is selected. Put that over there. And then I'll grab the left. Put that on the left. Hide it. So we can easily go through this and see. So, you know, you'll do the same with the legs. You know, it'll be like hips, knees, calves. So that's the right. That's the left. And then the knees. Sorry, this is so boring, but I'm going to show you how to rig this character. So that's why I've got to go through this whole ordeal. But you're going to redo this all on your own anyway, so. And then these will be the shins. Let's call them. Okay, so there's the right. We'll put that over there. There's the left. Put that over there. Hide it. Okay, so the helmet. That whole helmet can be one thing because, you know, it's just the way the head works. Now this antenna, we'll just call it antenna. Okay, now this is the important part of the shuttle, the doors. And that's going to be quite difficult, but we'll try and cheat a 3D open for that. Oh, so this is going to be a problem. That's why I'm glad we did this way. Nope, that's all one shape. You're going to want to separate this cord, okay? Oh, you know what? Oh, it is. Good, 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 good. Okay, so let's get rid of those, and you can redo that cord in After Effects anyway, because you want some waving to it anyway. So let's get rid of it here, because it's just going to slow us down. We'll just leave the rest as is. Okay, now let's open up all those layers again, and we can close this. Now for the fun times, well, see, I had to do all that so you could see the rigging. Like, you could do this on your own, but I'm just teaching you the rigging process. So we're going to import it. Now remember, import footage as, retain layers. We've got all that split out now. Yeah, no problem at all. It's what I'm here for, you know. I'm not going to leave people high and dry. And look at how much faster that opened up. And we get to keep the Illustrator artwork. I'm going to shy these layers by clicking the shy, and then I'm going to shy enable by clicking that. Now I've got some more space in my timeline. Okay, now let's talk about parenting and character rigging. There's the torso. The shoulder will be parented to the torso, like such. The forearm is going to be parented to the shoulder. And what's going to make it a lot easier is keeping the sides of the body together. So all the lefts are on one side and all the rights are on the other side. Shoulder, forearm, knee, thigh. Okay, the thigh goes above the knee. The knee is parented to the thigh. The shin will be parented to the knee. So this side's done. Shoulder. Okay, the forearm is parented to the shoulder. The knee will be parented to the thigh. The shin will be parented to the knee. The head will be parented to the torso. The antenna will be parented to the torso. And then there just leaves our shuttle. So let's close this and not look at the shuttle and just deal with him. Okay, so as we said before, when you're doing a character, the most important thing are the anchor points, and you want them to be where they meet the body. So I'm going to use the pan behind tool right here, and I'll move that there. I'll move that to there. Move that there. Move that there. This will be where it meets there. That meets there. That one's almost right. And that. So we've loosely got the anchor points where we want them. So let's test it out. Hit save. Most of this stuff is parented to the torso. So, oops. The thighs need to be parented to the torso. That's why I did that quick test. Always do a short little test. Now let's find out. Now he's parented together. Now let's try rotate. Okay, so we're good. Your character is now fully parented, which means you can do things like rotate and add a little bit of life to the character. And remember, things move independently, so you can start moving the shoulder a little bit with the rotate before you move that forearm. Like that. And then you would want to ease your motion by selecting the keyframes. Hover over, right click, keyframe easy ease. Like that. So that is how you can add some life to the astronaut as he's floating around in outer space. Let's just take a look at my parenting one more time for you. The head is parented to the torso. The antenna is parented to the torso. Shoulder is parented to the torso. Forearm to the shoulder. The thigh is parented to the torso. The knee to the thigh. The shin to the knee. And then you do the same to the other side of the body. So to animate the legs, we can start the leg there. It's really just going little bit by little bit. And you'll notice when you move the thigh, the whole leg moves. So I can have this leg start going back in space. So I'll click here, go there, move it back a little bit. Now I can work on the fine motion, like the knee and the shin. This is called forward kinematics. Inverse kinematics are a little bit more complex, but they save you some time. So that going there, and then about here, I'll start the shin like such. Now ease all that. Let's see what we got. See? Little by little, and you've got a moving astronaut. Like such. And you want to see something neat. So we've got that little bit of motion. Now watch this. If I go to torso, position, I'm going to hit save. I'm going to throw a wiggle on here. And let's say wiggle twice per second. Let's just say 25. So it looks like he's drifting in outer space. Look at that. Let's do a little less. Let's do... try 10. So look, you got that little space jitter, plus the limbs moving independently with the space jitter still happening. Instant logo. Okay? Everything's parented to the torso, so I put that little wiggle on the position of the torso. And you still have all that interesting stuff happening with the limbs moving independently. So just take your time, baby steps into it, and you'll have something pretty neat. You can start working on animating the astronaut, and let's hit the U key, bring back the shuttle. Once he pops out of the spaceship, you can even have him animating as he comes out. Let's test something out, because that's what lab time's all about. I'm going to hit P for position and S for scale. Okay, so I should still be able to position keyframe this because of the way the expression's done. So let's move him over. Oops, wrong button. I should say wrong direction. Okay, so we'll move him here. And I'll hit scale and scale. It'll be 100 here, and let's shrink him down here. Like such. And then there's the there's the wiggle. Like such. We could even have him rotate because he's in outer space. Like that. Boom. And you could move the limbs as he's coming out for some extra interest. Now, let's take a look at that door. Like I said, we're just going through this quickly to show you some ideas, but you'll fine-tune it over the weeks. Now, really important, these have to be lined up where they're going to be swinging from. Now, let's test something out. It's theoretical time. Okay. I think these will have to be 3D enabled. So, let's see. Door, 3D. Nope, that's motion blur, sorry. 3D, 3D. Okay. And we'll say right about here is where the doors will open. You know what? Actually, no. Let's take those keyframes. Come on, let me hit U. So we want a little bit more time for those doors to open. I'm going to grab all these, slide them down a little bit. We'll give the doors like a second to open up. And all this subtle motion that I did, I'm going to slide that a little bit so you see it when he's larger. But the motion's still there. I'm just sliding down the timeline when it happens. See, look there. Now you see it. Okay, good. That gives us a second to open up the doors. I hit R for rotate. Okay. So right here, We'll figure out which axes it is, but that's where they're open. We go back. That looks like it's closing. But, as you can see, it's not closing perfectly straight. Okay, let's try that for now. And then we'll go to the other one. See what that looks like. We'll work on that. It's really just the axes it's spinning on. You know, I have it flipped itself, but you're getting the idea here. Yeah, that's the way it should go because of the axes. Okay, good. And just to save time, I'm going to put the doors at the top. Save myself some headache. Obviously, you would line those doors up more perfectly, but doors open up, astronaut pops out, there's some motion and life, and you've got your expression. So that's going to be in a nutshell, what you're doing here. But, you know, like I said, it'll be about pushing it and adding space. And that's your question. I know it takes up extra frame, and we're moving to the 3D, but couldn't I have shapes in each frame to replace the 3D motion, or does that just take up more space? Now, bear in mind, this is 3D, and I flipped it on the wrong axes. You know what I mean? Just because rushing to show you. If you line this up, 3D is the way to go for that rotation. Because trying to draw, like change the shape of the path over time with 3D is way difficult and time consuming. Like this one on this side is a little bit better. Like I said, I just rushed through this. I mean, you know, for like 10 minutes worth of work, I got a lot of interest into this. And yeah, so it's like you could even use your star field as a particle system or make it 3D so that, well, no, it won't look 3D. I think it'd do better if you made a couple particle systems with your stars, and I'll show you that next week. But yeah, this is pretty interesting, you know. And like I said, you're going to have this for reference. You know, you saw how I broke down the astronaut, where I put the anchor points, and then how I parented it together. So, you know, it's not an overly complex character, but you see how much life you can give the person with those, you know, the way it's parented together and the sequence in which you move the limbs, like such. So a little bit of fake camera work or something like that will also help this. But, you know, it's coming along very nicely, so it should be pretty interesting. And then think about how you want the type to come in, when and where, things like that. Any other questions? I'll wait here a few more minutes, see if anyone has anything else. Nope, okay, yeah, no problem at all. Like I said, just split it apart in Illustrator the way I did, and you'll be able to bring a lot of life into that character. And all that negative space, like that gestalt effect, it still looks like an astronaut, but you still get that motion, you know, like I showed, so. Okay, so Julia, can you say again what parts you wanted me to combine to animate easier on the dragon? Okay, let's take a look. Okay, what I did, I'll send you this one for reference. I put the scales. Let me zoom in a little bit. Unlock. Zoom in. Okay, so I've got my normal arrow tool. I'm going to select there by clicking and dragging. Unselect the head. Yep. That didn't work. It wasn't letting me deselect the head. Okay, so I'm just going to drag that down to the head top. See? And then these horns, the spikes, I'm going to put on the head top. And that's going to fix a lot of your issues. This part right here, that was the body. Just make sure that your jaw is over top of that in After Effects. That's really all it was just moving those few parts from the layer they're on onto your head top layer. I hope that helps you. And the way I move the astronaut legs is the exact same way you can move these. You know, you might want that to be one part here, one part there. It all depends upon how much motion these limbs are going to have. You know, if they're not moving much, you can get away with a simple rotate from right there. And also watch, it looks like this one spine, yeah, so that looks like it's, just watch where that is on the body. Like, snap it like that. I just clicked where I wanted to put the anchor point and then rotate it. See, it still needs to be moved a teeny tiny bit, but now it's on. Yeah, no problem at all. That's what I'm here for. Hopefully everyone's enjoying the class and learning from it, because I aim to please. Any other questions out there in internet land? And you know, before I forget, I'll send these out for reference. Oh, yeah, no problem. I'm glad you're having fun with animation. I love animation. I love motion design. Very passionate about it. And I want to teach this in a way that you still learn but are able to have fun. Like, you know, it can be daunting. It can be challenging. But, you know, just muscling through it and, you know, pushing yourself, you'll eventually get there little by little. I'm going to include the scale just so people see it and can see how you can parent textures and have them distorted by the puppet pins. It's a very powerful tool. And again, you're going to want to fix that hose for the astronaut, making that in After Effects so you could apply like Turbulent Displace and stuff like that. It's just faster to do it in After Effects. Yeah, your work's all coming along nicely. You know, like I said, just doing little by little and then coming to lab and focusing on how to push those designs. That's the best way to get some eye-catching work. I'm liking a lot of the stuff I saw tonight. And you saw with Isabella's, when I put in that lamp, why don't I just open it? So in the light, I turned on the cast shadows, and then with the flipping Polaroid, I put on cast shadows for that, so that as we get to that scene, it will cast some shadows. But this is not responding, but I was able to revisit that, so it's in the earlier section and people can rewind. All right, so have a great evening, everyone, and a great weekend. I'll see you all next week, and just keep moving at it little by little. I'm very happy with what I've seen so far. Should be some very interesting designs coming along. So have a great weekend.